or Missoula or Kalispell. And so the double A's have always pushed that, wanting it by school, not by district. So if we were to consolidate even 2 districts, Knox and Thompson Falls, could we really save $250,000, plus the same would accrue for the junior high and for the elementaries, which are funded at a much smaller degree. So the consolidation does not cut down. There isn't one study on the table where consolidation saves money for the schools, possibly for the state, in funding the schools. So that's with consolidation. Scary item in eastern Montana, because their small C schools, as you know when you travel over there, are kind of drying up. Now, these are the major ones. We'll go into these in detail at other meetings. General fund and general fund, that's the one we're all concerned about, that educates your kids. Transportation, permissive levy, it's assessed, cover the transportation. Athletic transportation, do not, that's a separate in the general budget. So when our football team goes to Florence, the expenses on that, all on the transportation there, is contracted with modes of transportation out of the general budget. Does not come out of the transportation. Transportation is just your buses getting them here and fro during the day, and shuttles between campuses that are instructionally based. Retirement, that's a retirement, whole separate budget that funds the salaries that the staff are paid for, both within the classified and certified, comes out of the retirement budget. That's a county-wide as well as transportation. Adult ed, that's the one that funds our adult ed program. Mr. Garrison heads up, and anyone who teaches in adult ed does not come out of the general budget. It's a permissive mill. The board adopts it. We usually look at it in the summer, look at what our expenditures were the year past, say we're going to go a mill, half a mill, 2 mills, usually keep it somewhere between a half a mill and 1.5 to 2 mills for adult education. And a mill here raises about $12,000. And most of you should look, 1 mill increase for me is $1.92. And you just all got your tax statements, and just look up your little taxable valuation, move the decimal places 3 over. That's what 1 mill costs you if you ever went to the voters. And a mill used to be $2.50 for me, and now it's $1.90. So if we voted on 10 mills, it's going to cost me $19 a year. So that gives you a good idea on your taxes, how much you pay when we talk about mills. We're very fortunate in Thompson Falls because of the dams and the railroad. Avista didn't really get going, or the cogen plant, I'm sorry, or we would have, that would be a more taxable valuation. But our taxable valuation is right around $12 million, a little above it. So we get $12,000 a mill. Trout Creek much less, Plains much less, Hot Springs radically less on that. But it doesn't give us that much more money for our budgets. When our mill was, when our taxable valuation was under 10 million, you have what is called state guaranteed tax base. 1 mill then up to the base budget brought in $16,000 a mill because we were below the state average. When you're below the state average, they put it into a formula, and the state gives you money to make up the difference. So when we're getting $10,000 a mill, the state was giving us $6,000 a mill for the general to get to the base budget, 80%, $16,000 a mill. Then when all of a sudden the tax valuation went up and we're getting $12,000 a mill, we get 0 from the state. But from 80% to 100%, it's less taxes for you, the taxpayer, because the state gives you no money from 80% to 100%. That's all local taxpayers. So now it's worth $12,000 a mill instead of $10,000. So it's kind of a wash at time. But when you're around base budget, you're better off to have the GTB from the state. And the debt service, we all know that is vote on the bonds, whether it's build a new building, a roof, remodeling, whatever under that. Technology, we have $50,000 on each campus. $50,000 budget for the elementary campus, and $50,000 here out of the technology budget. And so if you look at 100,000 divided by 12,000, it's roughly 8.5. So it'd be 8.5 mils. And for me, I'm spending 8.5 times $1.92, or roughly $16 a year for our technology program as a taxpayer. So that's kind of how you can figure how much you're spending as a taxpayer towards technology. Flexibility, we'll go into that a little bit more. We've covered that. And the food is separate. The district does not put one dime into our food services. Sammy runs a cut rate shift. She likes to cook. She doesn't like things off the shelf or out of the boxes. That's what costs money. So we save money there. All the staff, all the food, everything is run 100% out of there. Now for next year, at this point in time, could change because for funding, enrollment is taken at 2 times, October 1st and February 1st. This is based on October 1st. If we go up or down on enrollment for February 1st, the A and B could go up and down. Our enrollment loss is 154,000 for next year. Now, and we'll go back and go over the enrollment in a bit and show the difference. You may say, but we're up in enrollment this year. We're up 9 students over last year. Why are we down? Because when they fund you on a 3-year average or the current year enrollment, whichever is the highest. Well, since our enrollment's been going down, we've been using the 3-year average for several years now. Well, when you're using the 3-year average and you discard your highest enrollment from 3 years ago, 4 years ago now, and replace it with another one and take an average, you're going down. So that's why we're down about 25 A and B. So that's 154,000 projected. Now, Title I aids this year are funded under stimulus dollars. We get ARA stimulus dollars for Title I this year. We got some ARA funding for some maintenance that we've done during the year. That's roughly $54,000. Now, will we be able to get, will that have the money to carry over next year? We don't know. That may be a saving. We may be able to carry over out of Title I 54,000. The big thing on the ARA is that our Title I dollars went up a lot and went down. Because the $50,000 to $60,000 that we had increased funding under a new formula for Title I, if you don't make AYT 2 years in a row, which we did not on the elementary campus, then out of your Title I budget, you have to earmark 10% of that budget for staff development, and 20% has to be earmarked for the option of parents to have their children tutored who are on free and reduced hot lunch. So out of a $200,000 budget, that's $60,000 that we can't spend on staff. And that happened at the same time that our budget went up, so we lost money. So there's money set aside this year for staff development and for the tutoring option, of which 3 took us up on it. That money can't be spent for staff during the year. That was basically the Title I aids that were funded out of that money that now has to be earmarked. Steps and lanes for teachers with no increase in the base. Base stays the same, that costs $30,000 new money because teachers are down and over. They go to school, get 10 semester credits, they move to the right. Years of experience, they move down. So keeping the base salary the same, it costs $30,000. Health insurance at 10% increase, which has been about average lately, costs us $37,000 or $3,700. Now, if it's 5%, it's half that. If it's 15%, 1.5 times, 50% higher than what I have up there. When you put that together, you have $275,000 potential. Potential. Now that's on those things not dependent upon from the legislature. Now here's the part that's a question mark, and we don't know how this fits in the governor's budget that he put out today. Because the 3% general fund increase for 2010-11 was funded by federal stimulus dollars. It started off with 2%. The state covered 1%, federal dollars covered 2%. And then a couple months ago, the federal government sent all the states some more stimulus dollars for public education. And all the stimulus dollars have gone in control of one person, the governor of every state, to do with what they want. So when we got the last 1%, it came in, the 1% that the state had initially put in to fund our general budget, he took that out and replaced it with the stimulus dollars and used the 1% hard money for other programs within the state. So currently we are finishing up this year with 3% increase all federal stimulus dollars, which won't be there for 2011, 2012. So when we see That amounts to about $115,000 here. So when we see the budget proposals, the governor came out with $50 million of new money for House Bill 2, which is the appropriation bill in the legislature. We don't know where that is right now. It's too early to tell. I'm sure everybody will be looking for exact detail over the next few weeks, so we have an idea of when we're going into school with. And as I said, for more information, go onto the webpage. The copy of the PowerPoints will be on there. All your handouts will be on there. Video presentation of it. Email myself. Call myself. Everything's open to you, the public. And tell your friends, because we in phase 1 and phase 2, it's very important to get community involvement. And then all of a sudden April comes and the board meets and they're cutting this, this, and this, and we have 100 faces there that have never been in these bleachers. And they weren't involved. And so your goal should be to double the size for our next meeting. You need to go back and get the people you work with and say, hey, this is getting serious. Because this is Thompson Falls. The school is a major, major player in the culture of this community, as well as every community across the state. And we're not going through anything unique that isn't going down the road, east and west. Very few schools with the superintendents that I meet with up north are not going to have problems. West Valley, student growth, Florence kind of growth, they're going to offset, they'll handle it with their A and B increases. So some of those districts aren't posing the problems that we're seeing that are losing students. And so we have to, and you can't, and the other thing I have not brought out when we get into the general budget at the next meeting is once you hit maximum, that's it. You go east of the mountains and some of the wealthy communities like Colstrip, we've got a big tax base. If they're at maximum budget, which means most you can spend is $1, and state law says you've got to be between 80 cents and $1. If once you're at $1, you can't go to the voters for any more. And they pass it. Because some of those communities say, we'll give you 25 more cents. Sorry, the law says maximum budget. Now, if you're above maximum budget and your enrollment goes down, you can maintain above maximum budget with a vote of the public. But if you're going this way, once you hit maximum, that's it. And we're at maximum. Because our enrollment goes down, which means our base keeps moving down and we're there. So it's frustrating on that. So when we go into the spring and we go over these meetings, everything is on the table. We'll be looking at ways to save money. A lot of the rumors you hear, where, some of the ones that are talked about now, should the junior high be moved to this campus? That's one thing. Most districts our size, your 7th and 8th grade classes are taught by high school teachers. They got a period here, period here, period there. They cover the high school. That's options we'll have to look at. We're a Class C school almost right now, except for our program non-resident students. When you look at your enrollment sheet that's in front of you there, and you look at your class sizes for this year, and you go down to the junior high and grade school, and take those classes with 30 times 4 is 120. That's Class C. You go to the high school, and you see the enrollment of 180 some, that's only because of our program and non-resident students. If you take them out of the mix, we're at the verge of going to Class C. When you look at the enrollment on there and you go back, and we don't have any data to show that there's ever been less enrollment than we have currently right now in our school district. So when the enrollment was going up and we're really skyrocketed funds was the Spring Creek Choir.